have you been doing?
Anna's on the phone to her daughter. She's 14 and hasn't lived at home since February last year. Dangerously ill with anorexia, she was sectioned under the Mental Health Act and is living in a psychiatric unit.
I love you too. You can do this, okay?
She was just constantly freezing cold. Her hands, her feet especially, were just blue. She was wanting to exercise all the time. So when she was admitted, she was just eating about 1 biscuit a day. I was managing to get into her. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And you just have to get through it, because there's nothing that I can do. There is nothing that you can do, and it's really, really hard when your child doesn't want to get better.
Anna's daughter has been fed through a tube for over a year. For months she was physically restrained every day. She's stable now, but needs to be in an eating disorder unit.
First referral was made in January because of the number of young people waiting for specialist beds. She's not even being accepted onto waiting lists. And I want to say, well, you know, my daughter needs that bed, but there are so many other young people equally as ill.
Of the 21 UK trusts and health boards who could provide full data, we found a 41% rise in children with an eating disorder referred to a specialist Tier 4 mental health unit in the past year. The data is starkest in Scotland. NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde takes referrals from all over the country. They increased by 141%. There's been a shortage of specialist beds for years, made worse by increased demand during the pandemic. Lockdown put pressure on other services too. Danae had been going to hospital as an outpatient to be fed through a tube. Her family felt they had no other option but to do it at home.
We thought it would be all right at first, but then when we were actually doing it, we realised it was not good at all, because it meant home was like one place I felt safe and I was away from that sort of thing, and then home was the place I was having that done to me.
She started refusing the feeds. She'd pull her NDG tube out, which then if the next feed, you have to put that back down, so that became more traumatic, and the trauma just increasing. And we got, I think it was about 4 to 5 weeks into it, and she just refused point blank at that stage, and actually spiralled so badly down. She was detained on Section 2 of the mental health and then into general hospital.
How was that for you as a parent?
So we felt we failed, and we know the system failed her.
The government says it has responded to the increased strain.
What we've done in the pandemic, when it was very difficult, is the NHS set up those 24 hours support lines across the country, which I think has been extremely helpful for lots of people. My understanding is that currently for a child with an eating disorder, if it's an urgent case, 95% of those children and young people are being receiving their first treatment within a week. So that is significantly better. And what I would say to any child or young person or teenager who's in that situation now, you know, I was a teenager with anorexia. My life spiraled into this sickness after I lost my father as a 15-year-old. Get that support, talk to others, and get that help to help your own pathway back to recovery.
But this week a report was published, commissioned by MPs, into funding for eating disorder services in the community. In 2019 to 20, NHS England gave clinical commissioning groups an extra £11 million to spend on eating disorder services. But only £1.1 million more was spent than in the previous 12-month period. So 90% of the total additional funding did not reach frontline services.
You hear them saying, reach out. If they do reach out, they're rejected. And that's just going to throw them in a tailspin. We've seen it happen with Danae.
Danae believes her recovery journey would have been much quicker if she'd got the right help earlier. Anna's daughter remains in limbo. 2 stories, and there are too many more. Tessa Chapman, 5 News.